Okay, HOC, this is just a review, or for those of you who are new to the class and therefore absent for the day we went over it, an overview of Chinese geography. Now again, A, this is more interesting than you realize. B, it's, regardless of your interest level, important for you to know the bloody landmass and basic Earth and space and climate and people and all that stuff that is China. So, you have seen already on your rubric that I've listed the things that are going to be on the test, or on the quiz. So we're going to go just by the numbers. So first, the 3 steps of the Chinese landmass. This, right, how do I do this? Here. Oh, well. Alright, so let's do it. So as you've seen already in class, we've talked about this. If you look at the key down here, this bright red area up here, that's 5,000 meters minimum. How much is is 1 mile? A mile is 1.6 kilometers. So, in other words, 1,600 meters. So, we can see that this 5,000 meters is over 3 miles high. So when we talk about the 3 steps of China, we're talking about its elevation. The first step, the lowest elevation, is only this area here. The second step will be pretty much everything else except for the Himalayas. So this is the first step. Second step, this is all over 1 mile high. As you can see here, it's 2,000 meters. That's your 2,000 meter mark. And then finally here, Tibet, the Tibetan Plateau. This is your third step. And notice right here, the Himalaya Mountains. Alright, so again, we've got the Central Plain, the Yellow River Valley, the Yangtze River Valley, and the Manchurian Plain here. That's really the only sea level stuff. You can see that even in South China, it's mountainous, so there's not a lot of agrarian land there. The elevation goes higher in the second step through here, and then finally you reach the top not only of China, but of the world in the Tibetan Plateau and the Himalaya Mountains, tallest mountains in the world. Mount Everest, where is that, you say? It's somewhere around here. Alright, so that's the 3 steps of China. Drier and moisture zones, number 2. And again, remember, if it has a star on it like that, whoops, if it has a star on it, that means an asterisk. That means that you have to know the term and be able to define it in a short answer. So, real simple in a nutshell, here is your dry zones. That will be your your lightest and your white. White is less than 4 inches. In other words, desert. 4 to 20, semi-arid. So I've already told you this in class. You can see the 4 to 20 is going to be the Gobi Desert region. The Taklamakan Desert is going to be here in the 0. So the simplest thing, just realize, you should know by now, I hope, that the Yellow River, this little lip here, is really important. That's the Shandong Peninsula. The Shandong Peninsula. Confucius was born in Shandong. And Mount Tai is right here, my favorite mountain in China. And so you should know that the Yellow River flows into north of the Shandong Peninsula, and then it does that bit, and on and on and on. So you can see that the Yellow River is this 20 to 40 inches. It's semi-arid, and we only get really wetlands here from the Yangtze River south. So the Yangtze and south is wet. and hot. Who cares? Well, this is our rice basket. Also, while we're at it, why don't we all, a lot of us anyway, love tea. So this is where our tea comes from, especially Yunnan province over here. Great tea growing region. But anyway, so, all right. Again, remember, the Yellow River, this is semi-arid and colder. And the Yangtze River, which is, well, this map doesn't really show us what the river is, but I'm going to guess that it's here. Yangtze is wet. Alright, what's next? The Himalaya Mountains, I've already shown you those two. I've shown you the Himalayas, and I've shown you Taishan, Mount Tai. Himalayas, tallest mountain in the world. Taishan, China's sacred mountain. You'll learn more about that very early because it's already sacred in the Shang dynasty. So let's again look at the reason the Himalayas is important. Let's find a better map. That's a pretty good map. If you were naive and knew nothing about China, you would think that India and China, being total neighbors, would just be able to, like, talk to each other, make contact, easy. But no, because there is the rooftop of the world right here, the tallest mountains in the world. And they isolate China from India. They did not know each other existed for many thousands of years. In fact, until, well, for almost 2,000 years. So that's the significance of the Himalayas. They separate China and the only other old civilization around it, India. China's isolated. Let's go back and see what else is on. And again, Mount Tai, south of the Yellow River. So here's Mount Tai, the sacred mountain of China. If you ever go, Confucius was born like right here in Chufu, so you should by all means make Shandong Peninsula or Shandong province a stop. It's just south of Beijing, notice, so you can easily go from Beijing down to Shandong and hike Mount Tai, or take a cable car to the top and see just the amazing history all the way up. It's a great walk. It's a beautiful, incredible place, and not a lot of tourists even know about it. Alright, so the Yellow River and Loess soil and China's sorrow. We talked about this in class, but I didn't get to show you a picture of the Yellow River, so watch this. Is that yellow or what? That's the Yellow River. This brown mountain is what the entire central plain looks like from oh, and by the way, he needs no introduction. You should know Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao, founder of the Communist Party. But here he is sitting along the Yellow River. I've been to this exact location. It's in Hunan province, and looking down on it. The cradle of Chinese civilization right there. What I want you to particularly notice is, look at this soil he's sitting on. It really is just like yellow flour. And that is what blows into the Yellow River, makes it so muddy and brown looking, and causes the floods that create China's sorrow. You don't believe the China sorrow thing? Whoops. This image is the Yellow River, and it shows us the changes of course of the Yellow River from its current delta, wherever it flows into the Yellow Sea there. You see it currently, right now, flows north of the Shandong Peninsula I was telling you about, but it has all of these other lines here are different paths of the Yellow River over the past 2,000 years plus. So it's constantly breaking its bank, and when it does, you can bet that the people that are in the new path of the river are flooded out of their homes. A flash flood, they have no idea it's coming, hundreds of thousands die, and meanwhile those who used to live along the riverbank are suddenly facing drought and famine that way because there's no irrigation to water their crops. So, let's see what's next. So that Loess soil from the Gobi Desert, let's find a better picture of the Gobi Desert. So here we are. The Gobi Desert here has that fine yellow soil, the Loess soil. The monsoon winds drive it this way until it collects in the mountainous region around here. You can see the yellow river. Let's see, I'm just learning how to drive this this software, so bear with me. Yeah, so you can see that the yellow river starts here, goes down, goes up through those mountains, does that weird paperclip-like shape, and then goes all crazy just through all sorts of stuff. But it is here that we want to focus on, because the Gobi Desert winds blow into the mountains here, and in the mountains that fine soil collects, and then when comes the rain, down goes that fine soil into the river. Now as long as that river is running between these mountains here, and there are mountains on this side too, as you can see, not a big problem, because a strong current is going to keep that sediment all dissolved in the water. But as soon as we hit this turn into the central plain, then China has problems, because the current slows down and the sediment starts falling to the bottom of the riverbed here, and that's where the floods start, right? Because the riverbed rises and rises and rises until finally just one strong rain or something is enough to break the dams that the Chinese have built for thousands of years along the Yellow River, to break the dam somewhere and set the Yellow River on a new course. Thus the Yellow River is called, once again, China's sorrow. What's next? The Wei River. Real quick. Any of you who have who have seen the terracotta warriors in their real situation, been a tourist there. The terracotta warriors are in the city of Xi'an, which I do want you to know. It's the very last city on the list. Xi is X-I, An is apostrophe A-N. So anywhere along the Wei River, I don't care if you put it north or south, because it's been burned down and rebuilt and all sorts of stuff so many times, north or south of the Wei River, in this valley, you can see that there are mountains along the Wei River, right here, mountains on each side of it. So they didn't have a lot of choice about where to build cities along the Wei River, because it's in a very narrow river valley. Why is it important? Well, to answer that question, let's go back to this term here, China proper, or the Central Plain. Now, I just mentioned it briefly. You need to understand it. You need to be able to show your understanding, and at the same time, you'll understand why the Wei River Valley, again, this little river valley right here, was such an important place and fortunate strategic place for emperors. I'm sorry, for people to be. That's interesting. When I moved that, yeah, you saw it. All right, so China proper. Why do we have all of these varying lines? Why this line and then this line and on and on? Because China proper changes throughout Chinese history. Proper means like real. This is the real China. The Chinese consider China proper to be where the real Chinese live, and that would be the Han Chinese. Oops. The Han Chinese. H-A-N. The ethnic majority of China. So, in the beginnings of Chinese history, it started in the Yellow River Basin. But notice it also did go over here into the Wei River area right here. So, China proper early on didn't really catch much of the Yangtze River. The Yangtze River comes later in Chinese history. But you can see as time goes on, China will expand and expand and expand and start considering the real China to be this much. So that's China proper. Let's get back to the Wei River though and ask why it would be such a strategically important place. You've been in class, you've already seen it. The Wei River Valley is incredibly strategically powerful because if this is China proper, and during the Warring States period, for example, in the late Zhou dynasty, say these are all a bunch of states, and they are warring against each other. Bunch of different states all warring against each other. On and on. Well, if China proper never does go beyond this Yellow River border, this Yellow River area, and further to the west, then that means that the Wei River Valley is going to be about as far west as you can get. Anything over here, here's Tibet, and so forth. So, and here's desert. So, and up here is desert. So, the Wei River Valley is as far west as you get in China proper. And that means that whoever inhabits the Wei River Valley has a really good military advantage two ways. Defensively, if anybody tries to come into that valley, they're all bottled up right there trying to get in at that entrance, and that's really vulnerable for any army coming in. They can be ambushed from this mountain and from this mountain and just all the way along, right? They're very, very vulnerable. I would not chase an army into such a narrow mountain pass, river valley. On the other hand, if the inhabitant of the Wei River wants to go out and attack, they've got the advantage that way too, because they can turn around and come back in and then slam the door behind themselves and set up an ambush, right? So offensively, you can go out, you can smash things and then run back real quickly. Defensively, it's really scary to try to invade you, all right? So the Wei River Valley. The terracotta warriors are here, and the first emperor could conquer from here, not only because he was a military genius, but also because he was in an easily defensible area that could also easily go on the offensive by conquering China proper. All right. All right, what's next? The Yangtze River. Again, if we have two main rivers in China, one is the Yellow north and one is the Yangtze south. So I want you to notice the spelling of the Yangtze right there. Whoops. And notice it's not Yangtze, it's Yangtze. And on our map, it's this one here. You see it there. It's one of the 5 longest rivers in the world. And it's interesting to note that its source is in Tibet. It's interesting to note also that the source of the Yellow River is in Tibet. Tibet, as you probably already know, is a big issue in China and international politics. The U.S. loves to demand that China free Tibet. You'll start getting a glimpse of why that's easier than said than done when you see that China's two major rivers both depend on water from the Tibetan ice caps and rainfall and such. So the Yangtze is the southernmost river. That's the rice basket of China. The seas, just look at the map, it's easy. Here's the Yellow Sea. Oops. The Yellow Sea. The Yellow River flows into the Yellow Sea. The East China Sea, the South China Sea. Right, the South China Sea is a seriously tense place right now, because underneath the South China Sea you've got oil reserves, and you've got gas reserves, and you've got Vietnam trying to claim it, the Philippines trying to claim it, China trying to claim it, and Taiwan trying to claim it. You got so many countries, and Malaysia right down here trying to claim it. So there's a lot of military tension about that, and it's only going to increase. There's more oil and gas under here, untapped, than under Saudi Arabia. Future geopolitical flashpoint. The U.S. is starting to get involved because it's scared of China's rise, wants to keep it weak. Alright, so those are the seas. The two deserts, the Gobi and the Taklamakan. I don't know why I'm even doing this, because all you have to do is look at the map. Here's the Gobi. This is where the Lois soil comes from that goes down into the Yellow River that causes it to flood down here. And here is the Taklamakan in the Tarim Basin. Taklamakan. Who cares about that? Well, from Xi'an here, the Silk Road actually goes through the Taklamakan Desert and up into Kazakhstan, land of Borat, my cousin, and so forth, right? Silk Road goes over into... By the way, just look at this map of China real quick. You'll see its neighbor countries. It's on another map, but here's Pakistan. And here's Afghanistan, with the capital Kabul very close to China's western border. And then, of course, here's India. And notice this little area right here. Whoops. This little area right here is contested. China and India have actually had, in the 60s, they had a border war over that little area, and they have never been real friendly with each other since. So just notice these places of religious unrest and civil war and terrorism and such, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, they do border China, and right here in the Taklamakan, this is where China's Muslim minority lives. They're called the Uyghurs, Uighers. There's a million ways to spell it. But they're China's Muslims. They live here in the Taklamakan. So China also has been somewhat disturbed by the war on terror bit. Alright, so you saw the Gobi, you saw the Taklamakan. Let's do our provinces now: Manchuria, Mongolia, and Central Plain. I've already shown you the Central Plain, so we'll talk about Manchuria and Mongolia in a nutshell right now. Looking for a good map. How about that one? It's a pretty good map. Alright, you can see that Mongolia is here, right? But Manchuria is this grassland here. So this is Manchuria. Manchuria, Mongolia, and the Central Plain. I've already told you that's the river plain, the river valley, and so this is the Central Plain of China right here. It's practically synonymous with the early China proper. So this is where all the farming took place. So that's the Central Plain. Especially this area here, the Central Plain of the Yellow River, that's where it all starts. Let's talk about Manchuria real quick and Mongolia. If we look further up on the map, you see that once you go above Mongolia, up here, you've got the steppe, S-T-E-P-P-E. This is grassland, just rolling grassland. It's too cold and too far north, the summers are too short, and the rainfall is too little to farm there and have agricultural cities. But there is plenty enough grass for horses and goats and cattle and herds to graze, and so the steppe land is rolling plain, rolling grassland, and it's the realm of nomads. And so you'll have all sorts of nomads, including the Mongolians, but also the Manchus, who are semi-nomadic, depending on the period, and several other, the Huns, the Turks, all types of nomads wandering around. The Xiongnu will be huge. They're coming soon. They're the earliest nomads to trouble China. So all of that will be happening to China's north. Our question, is geography destiny? Well, this is destiny for China because China is an agricultural civilization. They are just devoted to peaceful, simple living and farming along these river valleys. And unfortunately, they have very, very warrior-like nomadic neighbors to the north who will constantly be invading them throughout their history, and sometimes at just the worst of times. So the steppe is an important thing to understand because it invites nomads there. Alright, as for the rest, I'm not going to go over these border regions because you can figure it out. Google's your friend there. Whoops. The only one that I did go over is the city of Xi'an. It's the earliest capital of our first, well, we'll go into it later. It's where the terracotta warriors are. It's where the first emperor was. But even before that, 1,000 years before that, it was important. It will remain important, the Wei River Valley, for a long time. So, okay, let's just go. Let's find a map to do the rest of these things. So again, Siberia, up here, that's just Russia, eastern Russia. Not much there. It's tundra, wasteland, underpopulated the whole bit. So Siberia, what else did we say? Here's Korea, here's Japan, here's Taiwan, here is Hong Kong right here. Little island right off this river. That will become important later on. Here's Vietnam, and here are the Philippines, and Tibet, again, the Tibetan Plateau. And what else did we say? Anything else? Siberia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Tibet, India. Alright. And again, India. This map is actually better to show us. Look at that. There's India. India's been around since maybe a civilization since 2000 BCE. China only started really becoming civilized over here around, well, about the same time, 2000, but they only started writing around 13, 14, 1500 BCE. So you would think that these two civilizations would know about each other. They're two of the very first, two of the first four, but they don't. They don't know about each other until the year roughly, I want to say about 200. So for the first, say, 18 centuries, China and India are both developing and becoming hyper-civilized, major civilizations, and they have no idea each other exists. with that, I will just come back to what I hope you've discovered here, which is that China is incredibly isolated because of geography. And this is going to have a huge, huge destiny in store for China, as we'll talk about next time. All right, I hope this helps. Sorry for the length and the clunkiness, but by George, you should now understand China's geography quite well. Thanks for watching. Oh, whoops. All right, thanks for watching.